The British Council is UK's international organization for cultural relations and educational opportunities. A household name in Pakistan, it has been working here since 1948 through its programs focused on arts, education, culture and society. We all want to know more about the British Council's work here in Pakistan, and who's more qualified than its country director, Rosemary Hill-Horst. We are lucky today to have her with us, a graduate from University College of London. She is a qualified science teacher and she has worked in different countries as a teacher like Tanzania, UK and other countries. Before joining the British Council in 1985, she has worked in different countries as part of British Council, like in different cities of UK, Sudan, Slovakia, Russia, Portugal, Brussels, before coming to Pakistan in 2016. Thank you, madam, for your time.
Thank you, and thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you.
2 straight years in Pakistan. How has it been treating you, and do you find it different from other countries where you worked earlier?
It's been 2 very full years in Pakistan, and the time has gone very fast. But it's been immensely interesting, and I've been very fortunate to travel around a lot of this beautiful country. It's very different, I think, from many of my other country postings, but has such a vibrancy and a sense of diversity across the country. It's a great place to work.
And I have seen your husband around as well, so family is okay with you working here in Pakistan?
The family is very happy with us working here in Pakistan. My husband enjoys it very much. You can often see him on his bicycle in Islamabad and toiling up the Margala Hills. And my children are both working in the UK and in Tanzania, so they're very happy and busy with their own careers.
So, talking about the British Council work here in Pakistan, what are the major areas, focus areas of British Council in Pakistan?
I think our key area would very much be wrapped up in the term education. So education from early years right the way through to higher education and skills development and training of teachers. But at the same time we also work in the sectors of arts. We do some society work and we also like to work with or concentrate on looking at how we provide access to our programs for young women throughout Pakistan too.
Young people are always a focus area of British Council in Pakistan. Why so, and how the British Council is supporting youth in Pakistan?
Young people are the British Council's focus globally. I think we talk about that younger generation, and we tend to think it's everybody under 35, but I know it depends, you know, how old that people feel and where they are in their careers, but very much looking to give a voice to that younger generation and to support them in their aspirations. Pakistan has one of the largest young generations that there are in the world. It's a phenomenal resource, huge potential, and I think it's important for British Council that we help link up with the UK, its institutions and people, so that our 2 countries and the young people from our 2 countries can actually grow together and form some of those partnerships and relationships that help us to have a more peaceful, successful world and meet the aspirations of every young person.
So you have been working with the young people right after 9/11. You was also awarded this, you know, OBE award in the recognition of your work working with the youth in UK. So how different it is working here in Pakistan with the young people and working in different other countries with the young people? Do you think Pakistani young people are more energetic? They have, you know, they're more into education. They need more guidance. So how is working here with Pakistani youth?
I think it's, you mentioned the Connecting Futures initiative, and I was honoured to receive the OBE for my work in that area. It was very much a reaction after 9/11 that the UK and the British Council felt it wanted to create some programs that helped raise dialogue between young people in the Muslim and Arab world and in the UK and from other backgrounds. So that was a very important piece of work. I sort of started understanding a bit then about young people in Pakistan, but very much more in the last 2 years. I think it's difficult to say, no, all the young people in Pakistan are not the same. They don't have the same access, they don't have the same opportunities as each other. But what you do have here, I think, is a fantastically enthusiastic set of young people with real aspirations and drive and energy, and enthusiasm and a respect for education and learning, where they get those opportunities. So I think the young Pakistani generations have got a huge amount not only to offer to Pakistan and its future success, but to the world.
So you're talking about access and opportunities for the young people in Pakistan. Let's talk about children. There has always been a major concern area for the children in Pakistan is out of school children. We have more than 22 million children out of school. And you're talking about access and opportunity in context of youth. This is again a major area of concern for Pakistan. Does the British Council help Pakistan in this area as well?
We do, because I think it's a very serious matter when so many millions of young people, not only in Pakistan but across the world, they don't get a chance for education. Every child should have 12 years of formal education to help build their expertise and their knowledge and learning and understanding so that they can play a proper contribution in the future. The British Council has developed a fantastic project called Take a Child to School, which does what it says, and in the last 3 to 4 years has put back in school around 250,000 children who were not there before, and not only getting them back into school but helping to retain them, because it's not just getting them to sit in a class for a day or a week, but it's getting them to be there, understanding and being supported so that they can gain from that opportunity in the classroom.
So 1 million children, you help them getting back to the school. How do you work? You work because it's most of the time it's in the backward areas, in the rural areas. The outreach may be difficult. So how do you work? You work with the local communities, with the local governments. How do you work basically? Would you explain a little bit? It's really exciting to learn about that.
Yes, I'd be happy to. I mean, we certainly hope in the future we'll hit 1 million children back in school. At the moment, we already have measured that we've got 250,000 back in school, and we have an aspiration in the next 2 to 3 years for another 250,000. But I think it's a model that works, and the way that we do it, our funding partner in this venture is the Education for All Foundation from Qatar. And together with them we support quite a range of young people who we call ambassadors, and we train them and get them to work with local communities. They're young people themselves, 17, 18, 19, but they're trained, they're a bit more confident, they've had education themselves, they go back into their communities and they work themselves and through local civil society organizations with the village and community elders, with the Mahalla committees, with parents, to explain why it's an advantage to have a child that's gone through education, why it's important, and to look at the reasons why some of the parents and so on may be reluctant. There are very real reasons why some children don't go to school. So we try and look at how can we help that. And if it's materials, books, bags, uniform, we can help with that too. But sometimes it's just having an older person, an older young person, to take a child by the hand and help them go to school every day, come back, feel that they've actually enjoyed it and achieved something.
Thank you. We'll continue our conversation with Rosemary. Stay tuned after this short break. We have Rosemary Hillhorst with us. So we are talking about youth, we are talking about children. Recently, the British Council, Pakistan, they have launched a program called Pak UK Education Gateway. Would you elaborate it for us? Who is involved and who's going to be benefited from this project?
Yes, this is a very exciting program, and I call it a strategic approach because I think it's very much the British Council working in close partnership with the Higher Education Commission in Pakistan to help work and involve the UK and its institutions and academics with the Higher Education Commission and higher education leaders in Pakistan to meet this quite phenomenally ambitious task of growing the higher education sector in Pakistan, to go from 1 million to, or 1.5 million to 5 million young people receiving higher education, to go from 180 to 300 universities. It takes time to build a university, and the Pakistan and Higher Education Commission vision for 2025 is extraordinary, and I want the UK to be very much involved in helping them do that.
So there are some key areas in this project which you are going to achieve, and key goals. Would you tell us about those key goals? 6 areas, I think, and 6 main objectives. What these objectives are?
Yes, it's not a new partnership for us with Higher Education Commission. We've worked with them over the last decade, and it's been a fruitful partnership, and I'm very pleased to say that virtually every Vice-Chancellor and leader in a Pakistani university today has had some experience in the UK, looking at leadership models there, looking at the experience of Vice-Chancellors and other leaders in universities there. So we are building on that 10 years. But what I've seen in the last 2 years is that I feel there have not been enough UK universities and academics engaged here, whether it's in terms of building that university cooperation, the collaboration, or looking at very specific research areas and centres of excellence, which I know the HEC wants to concentrate on. Areas like water, for example, which are a global challenge, and where we have some expertise in the UK, you have some phenomenal experts here, and I think it's an area for the future where joint research, joint collaboration and bringing on young PhD students will benefit everyone. We also want to look at how we develop faculty in Pakistan. I understand that something like 25% of the faculty currently have PhDs, and we want to build some of that collaboration that will help to increase that number, so that more and more of the faculty working in Pakistan and the younger faculty coming through have got the correct background academically, and then the leadership training to look at how they play a part in the future of that expansion of higher education.
So this project with the Punjab government, where you are training more than, I think, 30,000 teachers, it's also, you know, where it's also the kind of same philosophy that from students now you are, you know, focusing your work from students to the faculty and teachers as well?
I think we, you know, education is a single system. From early years right the way through, and so what we want to do in Pakistan is talk to partners and government here, whether provincial, federal, and to agree with them, where can we best contribute, where can we best work with you and bring in some UK interest, and also where it's of interest to the UK. UK institutions benefit from linking up with young researchers in Pakistan and with academics in certain research areas, and I'm thinking of things like pharmaceuticals or as you say, geology and water conservation and so on, as well as the very cutting edge robotics, artificial intelligence. These are areas that actually I think you've got terrific academics here and good young research students, and we want to develop them. But equally, before someone gets to university, they need to have had a good school education. And so it's important that the teachers with that phenomenal responsibility to give them that right education in the first 12 years, that those teachers themselves have good ongoing training. It's a very difficult job being a teacher. I know because I was a physics teacher. To keep up to date is extraordinarily difficult. So one of the other programs that we have, both in Punjab but also in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, is we work with teacher trainers and with teachers to develop their core skills, whether that's in terms of technology or communication skills or looking at how they use modern day materials that are available. modern classroom practices.
That's good. So it's over 70 years of the British Council in Pakistan.
Yes.
But one project which has always been a hallmark is the libraries of British Council, which were closed down a few years back. But the best part, you have relaunched them in 2016 after 14 years of closed down. You know, how does it feel relaunching those libraries, connecting with the common people, with the students who are not part of those projects of the British Council? How does it feel relaunching those libraries in Karachi and Lahore?
I think it's one of the areas I'm most proud of, to have reopened the libraries in Lahore and Karachi. I say reopen, but actually it's a brand new concept in terms of a library. I was very sad that our libraries were closed for 10, 12 years as a result of the security situation, and I'm very pleased that we've been able to open them. But equally, those libraries, those physical libraries in Lahore and Karachi can only cope with so many members, so many people coming in every day. Although it is a delight to see young children coming in, as well as students, as well as older professionals, when they get time at the end of the day to look at what is helpful to them and to look at some of the new materials available. But an important aspect of the new library approach are actually the digital libraries, which in a country as large as Pakistan, with a population this size, is where I really feel we can have impact in the future.
Thank you. So stay tuned with us. We'll continue our conversation after this short break. This digital library sounds interesting. You just a couple of months back you launched it in Abbottabad. I would ask you to explain why did you choose Abbottabad, and do you have plans to expand this digital library? Also elaborate to us a little bit more about the concept of digital library.
No, I'd be happy to. The digital library itself is just that. It's an online resource. And so at the present time, anyone in Pakistan can subscribe to the digital library and therefore have available to them through their smartphone or their iPad or whatever, a very large resource, not only of journals and magazines and publications, but also films, some theatre work, some interesting podcasts from interesting speakers and commentators, and even a section of the digital library for young children, so that we look at some of the English language materials, but also some of the fun materials that people can use with their children too. So that digital library resource is available, and if people go to our website they can get information about how to dock into it and take advantage of that. But additionally, what we wanted to do was to take the library out and to bring it to people's attention more. And I'm very conscious that actually the very rapid increase of the use of smartphones in Pakistan is making a difference. It's now available virtually all over Pakistan in terms of connectivity. And so what we've developed are what we call digital walls, which effectively is it's like having a wallpaper in your institution, which has on it a lot of smart codes that can be downloaded on your mobile phone, which means you can download a whole book if you want to take it to read later. You can download our research, you can download some podcasts, some interesting materials. And what we try to do is to tailor what is there on the vinyl, on the digital wall that we're putting up in an institution, to that institution. So if it's a business school, there'll be more business related materials. If it's a secondary school, a public school, we'll perhaps look more at literature. And some of the research that's available might be more appropriate for a university. So we began looking at putting these walls up initially in some public places, so within bank branches, in shopping malls, within airport lounges, just to get people to look at the concept and help work with us as to what would happen. And now we're beginning to put them up in universities, in training centres, in public schools, and I felt that in Abbottabad we had a request from the Tech Valley training institution, but also from the Abbottabad public school, and I felt it was a good opportunity to get them to help us pilot this and see how they could use it. And in the public school they were opening the Hugh Catchpole Library. Hugh Catchpole was a very important link and teacher remembered by many of their students, and so it felt an appropriate place to put a bit of new technology and to see what they could make of it and how they can help us develop it in the future.
So libraries, they are coming more to Pakistan through the British Council, and you already said that it's not the relaunch, but it's the opening of the new libraries. Would you explain it a bit further? What do you mean by opening the new libraries in Karachi and Lahore, and how they're different from the older ones?
Well, I think probably anyone who walks into those new libraries now will say, well, there are some books here, but not as many as I was expecting. And what we try to do is have a good selection of books that are available for loan and for reading on the premises. A lot of recent, not only academic and educational material, but also cutting-edge literature, including from British Pakistani writers like Kamal Shamsi and Muhammad Hanif. So having that material available, but right up to date. But then at the same time, there are places where we actually have technology available, so people can go into the digital library through iPads in that physical space. And we also run a lot of events and activity. So most weekends in those libraries are full of events from, and I've seen it myself, from getting visitors to read stories to young children preschool, which are great fun events, through to activities around science experiments, looking at coding for young women, right the way through to the more academic panel discussions around research. So libraries these days are active spaces. We hope they're safe, active spaces. They're not places to be quiet anymore, actually. But what we also want to do is then work with libraries and librarians across Pakistan to look at how we can share some of the training that librarians need these days and some of the opportunities that are available.
So you're planning to train librarians in Pakistan as well?
Yes, we are, and we hope to do more. Our librarians do go out and talk to other librarians and look at opportunities for their development. Sometimes it's just a matter of putting them in touch with some of the information and material available. Sometimes it's looking at skills. What is it that can make a library come alive these days? What do our younger generation want and expect from a library? They're special places.
So from library, it's really sound interesting and great. But another very important expertise of the British Council in Pakistan, their research. And you have always come up with really great ideas like mainstreaming disability, like creative industries and their potential, social entrepreneurship, creative cities, which are not that westernized and that hard or hard topics like doing research on extremism and radicalization. So these are the soft kind of topics. How does the British Council come up with these kind of creative ideas and research?
I think many of the ideas come from my senior staff talking to partners here, both understanding the kinds of things the British Council does globally, but also looking at the interesting areas here, the areas where perhaps there isn't much data at the moment and where we can fill a gap and look at some very specific areas. I think our research evaluation and monitoring unit is 5 years old now. And we're hoping to reissue 5 years worth of research because a lot of it is still very relevant. But we began with some research that was looking at the next generation and their voices. So what did they think? How did they get their information? Beginning to look at technology and what it can do for us. So that set of initial research was quite important. But then also we're looking at other gaps. So for example, digital inequality. yes, there are far more smartphones in Pakistan now, but there are a lot of people who don't have access to them. So what difference is that making? And one of the findings that came out of that was, for example, there are 30% fewer women than men accessing the internet and technology and therefore information. And so that is it's a mismatch. It's an inequality, and it has implications. So again, that gives us something to work with. The disability and the special education areas, I think, we do work with some amazing people in special education here. And we help bring some of the new ideas, the new materials that are available. For example, down the deaf-reach schools down in Sindh and Karachi have developed some amazing Pakistan Sign Language dictionaries and approaches that if there's any way we can help share those more widely, we'd like to. It's a fantastic piece of work. And it's important, I think, that a society provides opportunities for absolutely everybody and sees that everybody has something to contribute. So it's looking at how we can help people do that.
Thank you. We'll continue our conversation with Rosemary after this short break. Stay tuned.
Research, how do we disseminate this? How do we share it? And so we would run panels in universities, institutions, with the media, to help get across some of the findings from the research. For example, we were looking at women in STEM subjects, science, technology, my own background, and working then with civil society organisations that help support women in science, working with universities in that area. So it's looking at how much we can disseminate the ideas and share them, including with policymakers, so that we're beginning to inform some of the policy at the federal and provincial levels too, by giving some hard data and some recommendations that come through that can be followed up. And one of the areas most recently where we've done this is around the area of social entrepreneurship and developing those entrepreneurial skills in young people. Because if you look at, what is it, I think about 2 million young people enter the workforce in Pakistan every year. That's a lot of jobs. And they can't all join either government institutions or the private sector. So for many people, the answer is actually to develop their own enterprises, to develop their own way of earning a living. And we want to help develop those sorts of entrepreneurial skills in the social sector and in the creative industries, the creative enterprise sector. And we've developed new initiatives around that.
So what is this Creative City project? I'm really interested to know more about that.
This came out of some research that we did. We've done 2 sets of research around creative cities, and we wanted to get beyond the big 3 cities in Pakistan, Karachi, Lahore and Islamabad, and to look at the many other creative multi-million population cities and to see what we could do in reaching out to them, and particularly in the creative and arts sectors and cultural heritage sectors. So this research looked at what were the creative enterprises in that city, and we looked at a range of cities in every province, including places like Quetta, Peshawar and Multan, and we also looked at the infrastructure to support the creative industries in these cities. So were there universities with good art departments? Were there skilled craftspeople that were developing there? Was there an opportunity for funding that could be available there? And working with organisations like UNESCO is very important in this area, because we're not the only people working in this sphere. So we did the research, and we then were able to both with partners in those cities develop an exhibition that we showed in London and in the UK as well as in Pakistan that went alongside the research to demonstrate what was already possible here and how these industries could be developed. So we made a lot of recommendations through that research, and we're now working with partners to see how we carry that forward.
So one of those initiatives is developing inclusive and creative economy in Pakistan. It's another major project of the British Council. Would you explain it more to us? What is the volume of this project and who's going to be, what it aims to achieve?
Yes, I was very proud to launch this project a few weeks ago with local partners, and in particular with the Ministry of Planning and their new Centre for Social Enterprise. It's part of a global project for British Council, so there are 4 other countries that are involved in this. They're all large-scale emerging economies, so economies like Nigeria, Indonesia, and we felt that that international link was important, but our focus here very much is on working with the social enterprise sector. It's quite new in that respect in terms of policy making and looking at the models that work. We know that some of the barriers to people developing their own enterprises are in administration, in the registration process, the ease of doing business, and so on. It can be quite difficult to find your way through that. So we look at supporting with mentors, people who've been through this, who can help say, if you've got a great idea, stick at it, but it'll require all your energy, and you'll come up against some blocks, but there are ways around them, and we can help support that. Part of the project is also going to support in the next couple of years 600 fellowships for young people, and we want at least 300 of those to be young women, to get some of the training that they need, to get some of the mentoring support that they need, to not only have that good idea and take the first steps, but see it through that next stage, which is actually when it's most likely to fail and where it needs a bit of support to keep going.
So Women of the World Festival is another new initiative of the British Council in Pakistan. Would you explain it a little bit more for us?
Yes, Women of the World was an idea that was developed by Jude Kelly, who was one of the South Bank in London, their creative supremo, if you like. And she came up with this idea and tried it in the UK to begin with. But we feel it's got a lot of relevance globally. And so we were delighted to be able to do Wow Karachi in 2016, and the first time that was done in South Asia at all. Now a number of other countries are also joining that network. But what I was also pleased about this year was that we did it's like a precursor to the full festival, but a wow think-in that we did up in Hunza with partners up there and with some extraordinary creative and leading women, fantastic role models in every sphere, not only looking at the creative arts and culture, but also looking at the environmental factors. And you'll understand why in Hunza that is so important. It's such a beautiful place.
So you are a big supporter of youth and women in Pakistan. What is your message to young people, especially women, and the wider education community in Pakistan?
I'm very impressed by young women in Pakistan. I'm impressed by the young men too. There's lots of energy and fantastic skills there as well. But the young women, they have a drive and an energy. And I think it can be sometimes difficult for them to really show that through. I know it's difficult. They can get education, but sometimes it's harder for them to go into the workforce. With technology these days, I think that should be easier. There should be ways in which we can help young women to interact with the workforce, to make it fit with bringing up a young family. I've done that. My daughter's doing that now. It's not an easy thing to do, to bring on the next generation while you're still trying to develop your own career. But I think technology will help that in the future, as will confidence building, some of the skills that are needed. And I think if we can help support that, I'm very pleased that we do. I have some brilliant senior women in the British Council. They're demonstrating their leadership skills in the workplace, and they are fantastic role models, I think, for other young women. We bring in 25 or so every year young interns, young men, young women, either just finishing their university training or about to enter the workforce. They come in, they work for us for a few weeks, they get some of that work experience, but they also see some of the senior women that I've got working in my office, and they can learn from that anything is possible.
So are you happy with what you're doing in Pakistan?
I always want to do more. Pakistan has 207 million people and growing. I would like the British councils to be doing more and more and reaching more of those. We can't do it all face to face, but that's where technology is coming in and helping us.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you
Rohi.
very much for the opportunity.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.